Welcome to this timer tutorial. Start by creating a new application. Press iOS, Application, then Single View Application. For product name, choose whatever you want. Same goes for organization name, organization identifier. Language, Swift. Device should be iPhone, and uncheck these three. Create your project wherever you want it to be. If you have a theme, select that right now and uncheck landscape left and landscape right. You should have it only in portrait mode. Go to your main.storyboard. Now you want to decrease the size of the view controller. We'll do this by going to the lower part of the screen and picking final values. Now we need to get a label to put in the view controller. So drag that out right now. Set the label text to 0 and increase the size of the label. Center the label, increase the font size to 50 or whatever your preference is. Select a nice background you want on your view controller. Change the color of the text if you want that. Now drag two buttons, one start button and one stop button. Increase the size of the button so it will be nice and easy to press on. I will now choose another background for both of my buttons. I choose to speed up this part since it's just preferences of mine. You can do the same thing by simply writing start for the label and stop for the other label. Now we are done with our view. You should press the two circle button to get out both your view controller.swift at the same time as your main.storyboard. Start with control dragging your label. Make sure that it is an outlet and set it to the name timer label. Now control drag the start button. Make sure the connection is an action this time. Select the name start button. All these settings should be the same. And now create another action for your stop button. And all the other parameters will be the same as well. Now it's finally time to start coding. Right under the timer label outlet that you have created before, create a variable called seconds and set it to 0. Now create another variable called timer and set it to NSTimer. Now create a third variable called timer is on and set it to false. This will be used later on. Now we're done with all our variables. Let's start implementing the update method or function. We will call this function for update timer and it will return nothing. Start by setting seconds to plus equals 1. You can also do this by setting seconds to seconds plus plus. This essentially does the same thing. I prefer seconds plus plus. Now let's set the timer label.text to seconds. This way we will update the label every time the timer is updated. To do this, we'll do a backslash, parentheses, and then write seconds inside. Since this is text, it's expecting a string, and that's why we have the string. It's a string. timer equals to nstimer.schedule. Make sure you pick the lower one that has the target, selector, user info, and repeats. The first parameter should be 1. That makes the timer call the update function once per second. The target should be self. The selector should be update timer. Right now I have a slight problem with the Xcode 7. So inside of parentheses you should write update timer. Note that you don't have to use the parentheses that is used to call the function normally. User info should be nil and it should repeats, so we set that to true. So now whenever you press the start button you should start the timer. Let's continue. So let's go to the stop button. Whenever you press the stop button, you want to stop the timer. To do this, we write timer.invalidate. Since we no longer want the timer to say 60 seconds, we want to change the timer label.text to 0. We could also do this in a better way by setting seconds to 0 and doing the same way we did before with a backslash and parentheses and seconds inside. Now we can run the project. Press start and your timer will start. It will tick once per second and increase the seconds incrementally. You press stop, you will change the seconds to 0, set the label to 0. But there's one slight problem right now. Whenever you press start, you will increase the speed of the timer. And behind the hood you will actually start a new timer every time you press the start button. You will have to stop this. So let's go back to our code, and now we will use the timer is on function. So if timer is on equals to false, we will create a new timer. Inside of this we have to write timer is on equals to true. This to make sure that whenever the timer is on, we know that we cannot start a new timer. In the stop button, we want to set timer is on to false. Now we should be able to start up the project without problems. Whenever you press the start button, it will check if the timer is on. If it is on, we cannot start another timer. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you have learned something new about timers and that you can implement this in your own projects. You can find more information and the source code on theliveclimber.com.